Well, I suppose to look at me, you probably think I've been a Boy Scout all my life, but that is not the case. I've had many occupations. In fact, I was once offered 2 jobs in a single week. One as assistant butcher of Alberg's Meat Market, right there on Main Street, Brigham City, Utah, just toward the north end. The other as apprentice mortician at the Felt Mortuary, right behind the Tabernacle. I decided to take the mortician job. I thought there'd be more dignity in it, and I'd get to wear a suit. Of course, I soon found out that the main job of the apprentice mortician was to arrange the pot plants before the viewing, and then again before the funeral, and then to unroll and roll up the artificial grass at the cemetery. But I got very good at both those projects, by the way, and things went on well. Of course, most of the time I spent in my office in the mortuary, just next to Brother Felt, Harold Felt's office. You'd have thought it a closet, but it was an office to me, and it was handy on so I could listen to what he was talking about most of the time. It's not easy to be a mortician. Right at a time of a person's greatest grief, you got to talk him out of $4,000 to $6,000 and make him feel good about it. But Harold was a master at it, and he did a good job, and they got their money's worth, by the way. He was not treating them fair, that's for sure. But I used to listen through the wall as he would negotiate. And I remember on one day, we had an elderly couple there in Brigham City, Bertha and Wally Owens. I'm sure many of you have heard of them. They're the sweetest couple you've ever seen in your entire life. Well, Wally passed on to his reward, and Bertha came in to negotiate the funeral expenses. And I listened attentively as Brother Felt went through the organization with him. Now, I keep saying brother because in Brigham City in those days, everybody called each other brother and sister. Of course, when I was young, I thought it had something to do with our common religion, but now I'm older and look back on it, I think there might be something else to do with it, too, there in Brigham City in those days. But anyway, Sister Owen was in the office, and Brother Felt was a-talking to her, and they came to what I thought was a very fair agreement, and she was on her way. Well, a couple days later, I was setting everything out for the viewing, just as I had practiced and was doing so well. I was there in attendance throughout the viewing. How many have been to a viewing at a Mormon funeral? Oh, then you know what it's like. Everybody gets in a line. The casket's laid out there, and usually the little widow or the widower sits on a high chair next to the foot, and the carcass is laid out in the casket. And everybody comes by and looks down and goes, "Oh my, doesn't he look nice?" You can't help but think if they'd have said that a little more often when he was alive, he might have lasted a little longer. But anyway, the night went on just fine. In fact, it was just at the end, almost everybody'd left, except a couple family members. And Bertha had slid down off her little stool, and she walked up to Harold Felt, and she goes, "Oh, Brother Felt, what a wonderful viewing. Everything's so perfect. And the pot plants arranged to perfection. But I couldn't help but notice you had Wally in a brown suit, and I was thinking he might look better in a blue suit." "Well, Bertha," says Brother Felt, "that's fine. I could have him in a blue suit for the funeral in the morning. But you need to know there is a charge for dressing the body." Her little shoulders just fell and her head drooped. "Oh," she said, "I've spent all the money I can." Well, I thought that was a little harsh of Brother Felt, and a little disappointed in him. And so you can imagine I was particularly pleased the next morning when I wheeled in the casket, popped the top, laid it open, and there was Wally in a beautiful blue suit. Set out all the plants. Everything went well through the funeral, loaded them all up to the cemetery. Everything went perfectly there at the graveside ceremonies. In fact, I was just to the point. I was rolling up the artificial grass. Everybody else had left, Bertha hanging on. And then she walked up to Harold Felt and she said, "Oh, Brother Felt, What a beautiful funeral. Everything just to perfection. And the artificial grass laid out just so. But I couldn't help but notice you had Wally in a blue suit, and I told you I didn't have any more money. And Felt replies, "Oh, don't worry, Bertha. There's no charge. All I did was switch heads." No, this is true.